Maseches Bava Basra Daf Kuf Mem Ches Amud Beis. Kemach, Imen Kemach Torah. Thank you very, very, very much. Maseches Bava Basra Kuf Mem Ches Amud Beis. Shiur Lulishmas of Imori. Menachem Ben Akiva Lulishmas Rus Bas Shalom. Yehudis Bas Moshe David Zelig. Sor Bas Moshe. And we are learning more about Shechiv MeRa. That's the topic today. This is the Gemara, which I told you is a bit difficult, but it's not so difficult if we concentrate and we try to listen to what the Gemara says, and we have the all these aids, right? Okay, so then all these things, Be'ezus Hashem will help us understand, and it's really not that bad. So let's even start with a document here. Reuven was given, before we start the Gemara, that's a good introduction. Reuven was given all the SM's assets. SM stands for...
Shlomo Meir.
What?
Shlomo Messenger.
Chas v'sholem. Chalila. Yeah, the Shechiv MeRa's. So the Shechiv MeRa's assets were given to Reuven, and then Shimon later on, was given, let's say one of them, part of them, a small part of them. So how do you explain that? What do you make of it? So the first option is, and you have to remember the words Havi Chazoro. It's a cancellation, meaning cancellation for Reuven, Meaning now Reuven got nothing. Reuven gets nothing, and Shimon stays with what he has, and the Shechiv MeRa's Yorshim, they get everything the Reuven originally had, but really didn't have. So option number one, Reuven is not the owner. When he gave it to Shimon, the Shechiv MeRa, that is a way to say, I canceled the first deal, and now it's yours. Of course, a regular person cannot do that. Only Shechiv MeRa can do that. Shechiv MeRa has a lot of, prerogatives a regular person doesn't. But that's not so simple that that's what he means to do. But if that's what he means, then Reuven has nothing, right? Whether the Shechiv MeRa died or lived. And that's a chiddush. Even if the Shechiv MeRa died, that's the first option here. That is to say, it's not a matana at all, nothing. Even if he died, nothing to do with chazar or not chazar. That's it. He doesn't have it anymore. Not because of the Shechiv MeRa's, because really died or lived. That's it. You have nothing. Finished. Because your matana was canceled. Canceled is canceled. The flight is canceled. The hotel is canceled. The marriage is canceled. Canceled. However, Shimon keeps his part. Why does Shimon keep his part? Now, Shimon has all or something. That's the rule of thumb here, not rule of thumb. That's the two boxes we have to have in our mind all the time. Shechiv MeRa's matana, which is chilki, which is partial, always stays with the recipient. But a Shechiv MeRa that gave everything, and then he revived, and he resuscitated and is back to life, then you don't get it. Exactly, very good. So now, in case that option number one is true, Reuven has nothing, dead or alive or jumping out off the roof, and Shimon has a partial matana, which is the best option. The case of Shechiv MeRa shows you how bird in the hand is better than two on the tree in the bush, because why? You have, what do you have? You have a small part, because you have the smaller part or just a partial thing, you'll always get it. That's one option. The second option is, and that's a Gemara's question, lo havi charzara. You see the second option, how nicely transliterated? Lo havi charzara. It's not a cancellation, meaning Reuven stays with what he has, right? Reuven stays with, he had 10 fields. One field was given to Shimon. I think the 10 minus 1 is 9. This is math for you. And therefore, Reuven stays with 9 fields. And the one field that Shimon got, he gets, which means, now there are two ways to look at it. They're now the co-owners of the fields. If it was not canceled, then Reuven is what? Reuven is the owner of 9, and Shimon is the owner of 1. They're not one instead of the other. I mean, it is partially instead, because one field Reuven lost for Shimon, but all the other 9 he keeps. In other words, it's not a chazara shlema. It's not a complete chazara. Let's say, you understand. 10, I stay with 9. One field was given to Shimon, au revoir to the 10th field, and that goes to Shimon. And the rest stay by Reuven. So now together, now there are two ways how to look at it. Because now Be'etzem, they both own everything together. He owns 9 and he owns 1. And together, they own together. However, so what happens? Now we have two ways to look at it, as we're going to see in the Gemara. 2A, one option is you can say that they own everything. They own all the assets. You see in bold letters, and therefore, if they own everything, if the Shechiv MeRa dies, of course they keep it. Shechiv MeRa dies, you keep. But if he lives, oh, what a nace, they don't keep it. Why? Because they together own everything. If you look at the two of them as a cartel, as partnership, they own everything. And you would say, I'm sorry, I never meant to give you everything. Had I known the Dr. Rosenzweiger with 5 PhDs was wrong and I'd be alive, of course I wouldn't give you everything. You think I'm crazy? And therefore, they don't get to keep it because between the two of them, they are the owners of everything. Okay? Or you can say, but that's only in the Havamina of the Gemara, and you should know, once you know this, then you save a lot of work for afterwards. The second understanding would be that we look at it in installments. Reuven got the whole gift. He got a full gift. He got 10 fields. And therefore, he's considered as the owner of everything, even though at the end of the day, he's not the owner of everything. But at the time when it was given obviously with the thought, as Moshe said, that the Shechiv MeRa was sure is going to die. Otherwise, how would he give everything to Reuven? However, when Shimon received the gift, it was only a partial gift. Shimon got only 1 field out of the 10. So maybe Shimon can say, I'll get to keep it because I have a partial gift. That point we'll see later on. It's only Havamina that will pop in the middle of the sugya. But let's review again the main sofek. Yeah, let's not get confused. Let's just go now into the main 2 parts. In the flow chart, let's only have 2 boxes now. Again, what's the case? Again, the case. Reuven, I'll be with you soon. Yeah, Reuven got 10 fields. When? On Tishrei, Tafshin Pei Aleph. Very nice. Then in Cheshvan, Tafshin Pei Aleph, and Cheshvan is after Tishrei. So Shimon gets one of those fields. One of those fields he gets. For the Shechiv MeRa wrote everything to Reuven, and then the Shechiv MeRa wrote one to Shimon. If it would be a regular live person, fully live, would be a crook, and of course Shimon would be nothing. I can't sell your house, the house you own. Yeah, but Shechiv MeRa is different. Daitiki mevatel daitiki. Another one, Matne Shechiv MeRa can cancel the other. Yeah, please mute yourselves. Please mute yourselves. Thank you. Yeah, if you're not. So then the Shechiv MeRa, again, he has that right to give the nechosim to one guy and then to give to another guy, and that second one cancels the first one. So if you, let's start with the basics. If Reuven would have gotten all 10 fields in Tishrei, and then he would have written all 10 fields to Shimon and Cheshvan, of course Shimon would have canceled out Reuven. There wouldn't be a question. The question is when he's like playing some kind of game over here, we don't know how to interpret his words. He gave all 10 fields to Reuven. Then one of the and he's a very sane person, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's as sharp as ever. And now he gives Shimon one of the fields that he himself gave to Reuven. What do you make of it? Is it a full cancellation? Do you say it's a chazara, and now Reuven has gornished, mitnished, nothing, and Shimon has what? 1 field, and who owns the other 9? Mr. SM, Shechiv MeRa, and later on is Kinderlach Hachamudim, the Yorshim. Or do we say what? Or do we say no? It's not a full chazara. Reuven still keeps the maximum he can keep, which is still 9 fields, and 1 field is a chazara. It's a partial chazara. That 1 field belongs to Shimon, and the other 9 to Reuven. They together they co-own all the nechosim, or together they were promised, were given, were said all the nechosim of SM Shechiv MeRa. It's really MS, Marks and Spencer, right? Okay. Beseder?
Only one problem.
These are, one second, there are many problems here. There's a lot of issues here. So again, what's enough kamina? And now, before we start the game, it's like a chess game over here. We get the pieces on the board. So now, we also have to always remember, when a person gets nothing, well, there are 3 options. Either you own nothing, and then it's nothing, whether the guy died or lived, the Shechiv MeRa. If you got everything, these are the rules of game. If you're promised / given everything, then it's not so good. Why? That's 2 in the bush. Because if the Shechiv MeRa will surprise us all and spring out of bed, his wife accepted of herself 50 shalim, and then he sprung out of bed, and now he's alive, then the guy who got everything, or the guys who got everything between themselves, they lose everything. The best case scenario, if you're friends with Shechiv MeRa, is what? If you got a partial matana. right? For example, Shimon in the first option, he got a partial. Shimon in the second Shimon in the second option. Shimon in the first option. Excuse me. No, Shimon in the first option. Yeah, we say that it's a cancellation, right? Shimon owns one field, and the other 9 owned by the Shechiv MeRa. Then even if the Shechiv MeRa is alive, Shimon keeps it, still gets it, because it's a partial matono. A partial matono, I don't care dead or alive. I get it. You didn't only give it to me in case you're dying. You still have very nice 9 fields, mister. These are the rules of game. The Seder? I got a little bit confused because the second option already has 2 options within it that we'll discuss later. So, okay, the Seder. Ad kan the Hakdomo, ad kan Amr b'Shabbos HaGadol. Okay, 1 second. Let's start the Gemara now. Hi, everyone. Let's start now the proper Gemara after all the introductions. Okay. Omar Avacha ba Yomi. Iboilu, sorry. The line starts with the word Ashi, Ravashi. Iboy lahu, the middle of the line, which is, I would say, more or less in the middle of the page, in the middle of the line starts with the word Ashi. In the middle of that line has a question, Ibai lahu. Ibai lahu means they, the Heilige Amoraim, they had a question. Ibai lahu, Chazara b'miktsas. A person did a partial chazara, partial, regretting, revoking from the Kinyan. As I explained to you, he gave 10 to Reuven, now all of a sudden gives 1 of them to Shimon. Havi chazara bekula? Does that mean a total cancellation? And that is symbolically showing I'm not friends with Reuven anymore. I'm not interested in Reuven getting anything because Shimon gave him 1 field and the other 9 go stay by me, says Shechiv MeRa. I like, or maybe not. Or maybe, no. Shimon got the 1 field, the other 9 stay by Reuven, and together they own everything. These are the 2 tzdadim. Now we're going to play the game, and we're going to read now a braisa, okay? And that braisa has 2 parts to it, a reisha and a seifa, the first part and the second part, as we go along. Toshma, come in here. Kulan l'rishon u'miktsas l'sheni. The beginning is very easy. Kulan l'rishon u'miktsas l'sheni. That's our case. He gave all the nechosim to Mr. Rishon, to the first guy. U'miktsas l'sheni. Later on, the Shechiv MeRa, playing games and tricks with us, he gave 1 field to the second guy. That's our case. It's so easy. So what do we say in the Braisa? We say outright, it's very clear. Sheni kono, yeah. Then the second one, he keeps, let's say Shimon, he keeps that's, by the way, we can start with the chart at the second checker on top. Yeah, Sheni, Kana, the second one, he keeps what he has, Kana. he keeps it, yeah. Rishon, Loi, Kana, and the first one loses. Okay? My love must be what? Beshemes. Must be that we're talking now that the Shechiv MeRa died. The Shechiv MeRa died. And therefore what? Because you're telling me that Reuven was completely canceled. What do you mean completely canceled? What's the only case out of all 3 options that we had that a person would completely lose even if the Shechiv MeRa died? Usually the Shechiv MeRa dying, I'm sorry to say, is good for the recipients, right? When do we say that even if the Shechiv MeRa died, we say that the person doesn't get, must be, it's canceled, 0. Reuven has 0. Reuven just didn't get. So even if the Shechiv MeRa died, he's completely out of the game. Yeah, the Shechiv MeRa, make it even clear. The Shechiv MeRa died on Kislev. What a tragedy. On Hanukkah he died. Tishrei he gave to who? To Reuven. Cheshvan he gave to Shimon. If you say that Cheshvan, Reuven is out of the window, then what? Then by Kislev when he died, Reuven long ago is out of the story. Very good. Therefore, you see from our Braisa that what? Reuven lost because he canceled. Shimon keeps what? Shimon keeps even if he died, because Shimon has the best option. What's the best option? You can even open your mouth and say, I love Mother Russia. What's the best way to have when you get partial? Shimon got a partial matana, because Reuven was completely out and cancelled. 9 fields belong to the children of the Shechiv MeRa, and 1 field belongs to who? To the to Shimon. So if the Shechiv MeRa died, of course he gets. He would also get if he resuscitated. That's besides the point. But of course, now that he died, of course he gets. So if you say the Brisa talks about the Shechiv MeRa dying, very good. Must be, we see here that Reuven's gift was cancelled. It was cancelled. And therefore, when the Shechiv MeRa died, Reuven gets 0. Even if he died, he gets 0. And Shimon keeps his matana because he has one part. Very, very simple. Very easy. He has to do with dying. Reuven has to do with dying. Reuven has to do with dying because the only reason Reuven would lose, even if he died, is because he has 0. He has no matan matna Shechiv MeRa whatsoever. Now answers the Gemara. The Gemara now wants to say loy. The Gemara says, how do you know? You're telling me it was a complete cancellation, and therefore, even if the Shechiv MeRa died, you want to tell me that Reuven lost? No. B'she'amad. Now let's look at the second checkers. The SM lived, this one, yeah, in the screen there, yeah, with italics, yeah, the two middle ones, the two middle checkers on your right in the column of SM lived. We want to cut and paste. Instead of saying that loses and keeps is there, it really goes to the middle line, which means b'she'amad. What does it mean b'she'amad? Really, we're talking about a case that the Shechiv MeRa lived. Maybe our Brisa talks about a case that the Shechiv MeRa, Baruch Hashem, he lived in spite of all the bad prognosis, he really lived. And therefore what? And therefore the first guy, Reuven, you know why he loses? Because really Reuven was not cancelled. Really, Reuven was not cancelled, and Reuven and Shimon together, we're going now to the other direction. Reuven and Shimon are now the co-owners. Reuven wasn't cancelled. Reuven owns 9, and Shimon owns 1. But you know why Reuven lost everything? Because we say, when Reuven got all 10 fields, why did the Shechiv MeRa give him all 10 fields? Assuming he's going to die. Now that he lost, Reuven is the recipient of a complete full everything of Shechiv MeRa's matano. So if the Shechiv MeRa sprung out of the bed, he loses. Mashenken Shimon who got the 10th field of those 10, when he got it, he only got 1 field. Mitzido, if you look in a very mitzumtzum way, not of the two of them together, Shimon can say, I only got 1 field out of the 10, and I don't care about what happens to the other fields. And therefore, I would get to keep it because I'm a partial mikabel, which is very good, and therefore, I will keep my part. If there's big questions on this assumption, it's only Havamina, but that's what the Gemara wants to say now. And therefore, we can say that Reuven wasn't cancelled. We keep vacillating. Was Reuven's matana cancelled? We say, no, not necessarily. I can read you the Brisa that the Shechiv MeRa sprung back to life, and the only reason why Reuven loses is because his matana, on the contrary, was not cancelled, and therefore he only keeps 9 now, and Shimon keeps 1. But because historically, when he got the 10 fields, it was a complete whole matana, we can say the Shechiv MeRa only gave it, Almanas is going to die. Now that he lives, then Reuven lost it. Mashenken Shimon is always looked at as a partial recipient, which is good. In this case, it's very good to fast to get a little, and Shimon only gets a small part. Okay, and that's what the Gemara wants to say now, and the Gemara wants to prove it. And the Gemara wants to say, Hachinami mistabra. I'll even prove my point that it's better to say that our Brisa did not speak about a Shechiv MeRa who died. We prefer to say, like the middle column here, or the middle rows, that he really lived, and Reuven's was not cancelled, and that's why, yeah, he lives, and that's why Reuven loses, because Reuven got too much. You know, the man who knew too much? So this is the man who got too much. He got all of, sometimes in life, it's a muster for us. You get too much, you lose. Yeah, it's better to get a little bit and then have it, yeah, two in the bush. This is Musa Seder for me, please. And continues the Gemara, mistabra, yeah, mistabra. And the Gemara wants to say, Achinami mistabra. It's likely, I'll repeat everything, bli neder, and then people can ask questions. I promise I'll repeat the whole thing, but we have to have a flow here. Thank you. Achinami mistabra. This is also likely to say to what? That really the Shechiv MeRa lived and not died. I prefer explaining the Brisa that the Shechiv MeRa sprung back to life rather than explaining that the Shechiv MeRa died. Why? Because the Brisa has, oh, guess what? has a seifa, which is a side, that's a side, the sidebar, the side chart. You see the little cutie charty, the one on the side? That's a seifa. Seifa is the last part of the Brisa and the Mishnah, as you all know. B'diktani seifa, look what the seifa says. It says in the seifa, what happened if just the opposite case, the same case, but chronologically, exactly the opposite happened, meaning, it says in the seifa, Miktsason Larishoy, you gave a little bit to Reuven. You gave Reuven, let's say, one field, Nagid, yeah? You gave Reuven one field, the Kul on the Sheni, and later on in Chodesh Cheshvan, you gave 9 fields to Shimon. You gave one to him. You didn't cancel. You gave one to one guy. Then you continued and you gave more. That's even a simpler case. No cancellation. You gave one field to Reuven, and then you gave the second, third, fourth, and to Shimon. What do we say then? Rishon Kono. The first guy keeps it. Sheni loy kono, and the second guy Shimon, he doesn't keep it. Why? Makes a lot of sense. If you explain that the Sefer talks about B'She'omad, that the Shechiv MeRa really lived and surprised us all and sprung back to life. You know why the second guy didn't get? Because he finished off the last candy in the bag. The one who has everything at the end of the day is Shimon. He has fields from 2 to 10, which means he finished off all the nechosim, like Mr. C, Charles, in the previous story. Of course he loses, because why? He's the one who has everything at the end of the day. Mashe'enken Rishon did keep it. Why? The Rishon only got one gift. That's classic, right? When he got it 2 months ago, when he got the one field, there was a lot of free fields to the Shechiv MeRa. The one who finishes off the last, he agitates, finishes off the last resources, he's the one who loses, only if the Shechiv MeRa sprang back to life. Because the Shechiv MeRa would say to Shimon, hey Shimon, you got everything. Of course I didn't give you everything to stay alive and be a pauper. Ela yomad b'shemeis. But if you want to tell me that he died, then they should both die, they should both keep, they should both acquire it. If you say that he died, then I don't care about what happened first or what happened second. If he died, the Shechiv MeRa, they got the matana. It's not a bad matana. Whether you got everything or you got partial, what's the difference between Reuven and Shimon? Reuven got partial and Shimon got everything. Machbatli, if he died, they get it all. So must be, you can see, aha, says the Gemara. You see from the Seifa, and the Seifa reflects on the Reisha, because Brises are not shtuyot, chas v'sholom. Brises are usually consistent. If the Seifa must be, and that's an ironclad proof that will not change. The Seifa clearly talks about a person who lived, of course, because he lived, that's why Shimon loses. Must be. The Reisha also speaks about a Shechiv MeRa who lived, and not the Shechiv MeRa who died like he wanted to say. That's what you want to say. So let's revise. Really what we're trying to say now is, don't tell me that the Shechiv MeRa died, and that's why Reuven lost, because Reuven canceled, everything was canceled for Reuven. No, the Shechiv MeRa lived, and that's why Reuven was canceled, because Reuven got everything. In other words, there are 2 ways you can lose. Either by being a zero, out of the picture, you're completely canceled, or there's another way to lose everything is when you got everything and the Shechiv MeRa sprang back to life. So why are you telling me, very, very good, let's be very, very specific now. Why are you telling me that Reuven lost and you're proving, you see Reuven lost? Must be Reuven's gift was canceled. No, maybe Reuven lost because why? Because he got everything, verkehrt. He got everything, and the Brisa talks about a Shechiv MeRa who survived. A surviving Shechiv MeRa with 100% gift, very bad shidduch. That's why Reuven lost. That's what you're trying to say now. Okay? And says the Gemara, Omer Rav Yema Rav Ashi, Rav Yema says to Rav Ashi, and that's actually going to be the last stage of the sugya. That's the last column in the bottom. Says Rav Yema to Rav Ashi, hold it. You know what? You proved your point that this brisa must be talking that the Shechiv MeRa survived. The Shechiv MeRa got better, no question. So what? You're still wrong in your understanding. Why? Why do we say that we must say that he lived? Because of the Seifa. The Seifa must be that he lived. There's no other explanation. Must be the Reisha. Also, the Metzias, the story, the Shechiv MeRa survived. If so, but still, it doesn't mean that what we said is wrong. We still say the Reuven loses and Reuven's gift was really cancelled. I'll tell you why. If you want to tell me that cancellation of part of the fields is cancellation of everything, like we want to say, by the way, we're dancing the dance, what I call A, B, and A. In other words, we wanted to say originally that it's a full cancellation. We're now tying, no, it's not full cancellation. Now we're going back to say, yeah, it is full cancellation. And I'll prove it to you. If you want to tell me that what? That a partial chazara is a full chazara, hainu d'sheni miyaskana. That's why I understand that the second guy, he did acquire. Of course. Why? Because the first guy canceled, garnished. The second guy, Shimon, stays with one field, and the other 9, the Shechiv MeRa. But if you want to say that it's not a cancellation, then you get it all wrong. Because if it's not a cancellation, and Reuven has 9 fields, and Shimon has 1 field, and together they own together, then it should be like a mechalek. What's a mechalek? A, B, C. When a guy came to the hospice, and he said, Albert gets A, Bruce gets B, Charles gets C. What is it? When all together, they're considered as co-owners of owning everything together. And therefore, what do we say? If he springs back to life, he goes out of the hospice to the gym and to the safari trip. And then what do we say? They're all looked at as one body. We don't say that story, historically, chronologically, no. We say what? Really, they own together, and they should give back everything together. And therefore, it cannot be like you're saying. In other words, even if he really lived, even though you want to tell me that the Shechiv MeRa survived, the only way to understand that he survived and to say that Reuven lost and Shimon kept is only if you say that Reuven was canceled completely. Because if Reuven and Shimon co-own and Reuven did not lose, so Reuven and Shimon together are one cartel, one mafia, owning everything together. And then if the Shechiv MeRa survives, they would both lose. And therefore must be really the only way to understand that one line of Reuven lost, the Rishon lost in red letters now, the only way to understand the Reuven lost is if his gift was completely canceled. Yeah, I think we need to revise that now. I'll repeat everything, but before that, let's continue one more stage. V'hilchasa. Really, the halacha is like we're tending to say, we're back to square one in a good way. Really, the fact that Reuven lost everything has only one explanation. What is explanation? Cancellation. Because again, if you want to tell me that the gift was not canceled, then Reuven is an owner, Shimon is an owner, and together they own everything. Reuven got 10 fields, and Shimon got one of them. Shimon's not a partial owner, but I shouldn't say shtuyot, it's a Gemara's Havamina, but it's wrong. Reuven got all the matana, so the Shechiv MeRa was sure is going to die, because he's not going to be pauper penniless, and then out of those 10, gave one to Shimon. But the Shechiv MeRa is out of the picture regarding both Reuven and Shimon. So if you want to tell me that they together co-own, then of course if you lived, then they should both lose. And we don't have one case here that they both lose. There's no one case here that they both lose. Out of all the Mishigas, there's no but case of both of them losing. If you want to tell me that he got everything between them, they should both lose, and that never happened here. So the only way to explain the Reisha, the word, the Reuven lost, must be the Reuven lost. You know why? Because he lost. Because his gift was completely 100% canceled with big red, I should say, X on the thing. He lost it all. And now the Gemara summarizes, which may actually help us understand. The Gemara, in a way, reviews with a new light. Reisha, the case of the Reisha, when we said Reuven got first and Shimon got second, and Reuven loses and Shimon keeps. Whether he's dead or alive, look how nice. Both dead and alive, yeah, are both the same thing. Because what do we say in this case of the Reisha? Both, whether died or lived, the first guy lost. He's out of the picture. From Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, Misken, pulled out of under his feet, he lost. And Shimon keeps it anyways. Why? Because Shimon got a partial matana. Partial matana is the best. You get it whether dead or alive. Seifa, and a Seifa, which is the opposite, where Reuven got a small part and then Shimon got more. Yeah, shlav, stage by stage. Lo mashkachas la ela b'she'omad. That's only true when the Shechiv MeRa sprung back to life. Why? Because if he's back to life, we say that the first guy got partial matana, that's good. The one who got the complete matana, or the finishing of matana, he finished the last candy in the bag, that guy, if the Shechiv MeRa sprung back to life, then he is losing. Mashenkin, in the opposite case, if he died, they both get. Partial or whole matana, if the Shechiv MeRa died, they both get. That's the end of the story here. That's the easiest glory you've ever seen in your life. I will repeat the Gemara soon, but first we have a question. Before we continue, Moshe asked the question. He pointed out that in the Seifa, it's not the case like I said, that Mr. B, that let's say the first guy, whoever got one field, and then the second guy got all the fields from 2 till 10, but maybe the second guy got everything, right? We don't know. So that is not true. Says, I'm reading insights from Rabbi Gershom, having to prove myself. Says Rabbi Gershom and other Rishonim, he says, the Seifa da'ach b'ais, the kosam eksoson rishon, v'kulon hanechosim shenishtayu, שנשתיירו, שיריים, שנשתיירו לשני ראשון קונו משום דשיר, שני לא קונו דלא שיר לעצמו כלום. That's what the Rashbam, that's what the Rabbi Gershom says, and the Rashbam too. That's what I said.
So it's not the flip side of the...
It's not exactly flip side. I said chronologically opposite. That's what I was careful, but I thank you for, I didn't read the word kulan. I hear. But kulan means everything that's right. Kulan means that at the end of the day, or at the end of the life of Shechiv MeRa, Shechiv MeRa remained penniless because of the last guy.
Forget about that.
I'll just summarize again. Let's just summarize again. Again, the question was, it's simple question, we'll simplify it to the answer. Question is, Reuven got all 10 fields. What do you mean got? Was given, was written, he has all 10 fields. Later on, what you call double sale, the Shechiv MeRa has the right to do double sale and thus cancel. If the Shechiv MeRa would have written in Cheshvan, no, I give everything to Shimon, then Shimon gets, he always go Basra the Achron. Shechiv MeRa has his things. That's Shechiv MeRa land, different to us. Baruch Hashem. Prerogative, exactly. Mashenkin, if he only gave Shimon one field out of the 10, we're not sure what to make of it. Is it a complete cancellation? And that one field symbolizes the whole story. And therefore what? What would be in this case? No. So now, Reuven lost everything, dead, live, UFO, jumping out of the... He lost, right? And Shimon gets a partial gift, which is good. Because then dead or alive Shimon will get. And that's how we want to explain the Reisha of the Braisa. That's exactly the case of the Reisha. That's what we want to say. Omad, Reuven lost everything, even Beshemes, I'm sorry. Beshemes, he lost everything. Reuven, why did Reuven lose everything? He lost, canceled. And Shimon gets everything, not everything that he was given. The one field he was given, Shimon gets, dead or alive. Mitzvah, beautiful. Now, you could have said another way. What?
Reuven loses because
he canceled. According to this understanding, he canceled. Because when I gave Shimon one field...
It's a little hard to cancel when the person's dead.
No, he canceled it when he was alive in Cheshvan. Tishrei gave Reuven, Cheshvan he gave Shimon one field, and Kislev he died with the first candle of Hanukkah. Nimlach, bidiyuk, bidi nimlach, nachon. So that's how we can understand the Reisha. Beseder, really those cancellation. You may offer a different shot. Maybe you'll tell me, no. Really, it wasn't canceled. Really, Reuven stays with a 9, and Shimon stays with 1, and that's how we can read the Brisa. No, we cannot read the Brisa like that. That's not even a Seifa. We can't read the Brisa like that. It wouldn't fit in. If I could play a game here, I would take a piece of paper and try to fit the lines, losers and gains, into different checkers, but we don't have that, yeah? So, be'etzem, there's no way to fit your story, because if Reuven wasn't canceled and Shimon wasn't canceled, they co-own. That is, by the way, yes, similar to the Seifa, because they own together. If they own everything together, then they also lose together, and then it should have been lose. And there's no such case in the Brisa. So it must be wrong. Must be really there is cancellation. And because there is cancellation, that's why Reuven doesn't get, even when the guy died.
So where's the case?
Weiter. Let's continue. Think about let's at some point. Weiter. Iboilu. Question. That's much easier. From now starts the fun part. Here comes the dessert for those who behave nicely. Ibailu, hikdish kol nechosav ve'omad. A person did not give everything to one guy. He gave it to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. He was makdish all the nechosim, or maybe to tzedakah. He gave all these nechosim to Beis Tzvi. That's not a commercial. Yeah, he gave all the nechosim to the shul. He gave all the nechosim to tzedakah, and then the omad, and then he got back to life. Then what would we say? It's not so simple. Mahu, what would we say? When it comes to hekdesh, meaning you give everything, whether you're dead or even alive. Wow. It's a tzedakah. A person may give all his money to tzedakah. Not that it's recommended, but because it's a mitzvah, maybe he's even giving up on his own egoistic, selfish thing, and he's asking to give everything. If I gave it to a guy, a regular person, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Bruce, etc., who says I'm giving him and I'll stay pauper and he'll have all the money? Ma pitom, that's not teva enosh. But if you say that it's for tzedakah, maybe he gives up whatever happens, even if he lives, maybe. Or maybe when it comes to his own ego, his own selfish idea, then he doesn't give everything to the tzedakah. I want to give tzedakah, but not stay a pauper, be in the street while the organization for poor people, they have everything. And now, what? He will apply as one of the poor ones. It's not his kavanah to become one of those cases, right? Now, let's say you want to tell me that the hefker does not work. For hekdesh, it doesn't work. But what about the hefker? Hefker means he said all menchosim are hefker. All menchosim are hefker. All menchosim, what do you call them? Relinquish my rights over all menchosim. I disown them. That's it. What would we say like this? When he's mafkir, everyone can take it. He says all my assets are hefker. That means poor, rich, or anything in between. Anybody between the top people in Forbes and anybody from the street, from the homeless people, everyone can grab. Everyone, it's up for grabs by everyone. But it's also Shechiv MeRa, but also who? Also the poor people. If he wants to give the poor people, it's a form of tzedakah. So maybe he wants to give, even though he's going to live, he's going to be healthy and well. Maybe he's willing to go along with it and still keep it hefker, knowing that some people will benefit from it, the poor people. Or maybe no. Again, the same thing. Ego. If still, for him to lose, it's a very nice idea theoretically. Some people are generous with the money of the others, they're saying in Spanish. In other words, if another person would do it, there was a guy recently in Idabut, they had the thing that I didn't see the video, but I just read the thing. He threw money, he threw a lot of money out of the window. I don't know if it's true or fake. And he said everyone can take the money. He's a very rich man. That's like Hefker. Who takes it downstairs in the street? I don't know, rich, poor, anybody. So maybe that is very nice when it happens to somebody else. He asked me if I would do it. I don't know. And therefore what? And therefore we'd say that if he goes back to life, he didn't throw it. He said, Omen Chosim Hefker after my death, and he stayed alive. Yeah, he's back to life, whatever. Yeah, he had a near-death experience. So then what? We say maybe, it's nice by others, by me, I don't want to stay penniless. Yes or no? We have a question. Now, and if you want to tell me one way, then again we have a third question. Let's say it was a little bit smarter. He actually was mechalek in a thoughtful way. He gave all the nechosim, all the different assets he had, he gave to anim. This and that, Zichron Menachem, he gave all the anim, all the Yades or Shalomis, he gave each one, he gave Nechosim La'anim. That's another question, because that's mamish a very targeted, pointed, clear tzedakah. Tzedakah he gave in order to stay by the tzedakah. He's not going out to knock on the doors of Yad Eliezer and Yad Ezra and say, I'm sorry that I'm back to life, but I want to retrieve the money, I want to cancel my donation. It's a tzedakah. He gave tzedakah. He gave it already. Only a skanke. Or maybe no. Again, same question. Maybe not. At the end of the day, I want to give tzedakah, but I'm not willing to give all the money to tzedakah and stay alive and be a pauper and be in the street homeless and apply to a Chas Shalom Shabbos package in Yad Ezra Shalomis. Teiku. All these cases, how surprisingly, are teiku. I don't know the halacha l'maisa. As you can imagine, I prepared more at the beginning of this year. But teiku is, we have to see the halacha, but we remain now in a tie. We don't know the halacha. Yes, what's your question?